Hello, Saints. I'm going to show you how to take Google Slides and Google Drawings and make an interactive activity for your classes. In Google Slides will be the basis of our drag and drop activity, but we may have to go into Google Drawing to create the background for it. So the trouble with using Google Slides is that sometimes when you put a background image and you just put an image in, the students can move things around. So we want to get a background for our interactive activity that can't be moved. For example, I want to label the parts of the brain, and I want to make an interactivity. Instead of having the students write in a worksheet and label the parts, I want to create a Google slide, which allows them to drag and drop and respond to a couple of questions about the parts of the brain. So on our Google slide, there's two ways you can do it. If you find an image that's perfect the way it is and you want to load that into slides, you would go to background, and we want to choose an image. Now, since we already found one here, this is the image I want to use, though it's not perfect as it is since it has the labeling, but I'm going to use this picture to show you how to do it. If you right-click on the picture and copy image address, then back in Insert Google Background Image by URL, we will paste the image in there, the image address in there, and you know it's right if the image that you want comes up. And we select it. Right? So there is our brain. But I don't really like this background image because I want to have this brain and the lines and everything without the parts already labeled. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go to Google Drawing, and I'm going to insert the same image in here the exact same way. And it puts it right there for me. I'm going to expand it so it takes up most of our space. So now that I have my image in here that I want to use as my background, I need to get rid of all of the labels. So in order to do that, I am going to insert a shape and a square. So for each one, I'm going to put a square over the name, and I'm just going to make it white so it looks like there is just nothing there. Right? And you have to make sure you do the same thing with the border too. Make the border white. So then when you're done, it looks like that. Now what then I do, instead of doing that each time with each name, I'm going to copy that square, paste it, and just move it over to the next one. And then we'll keep doing this until we have covered all of our labels. Now, once we have covered all of our labels, we can then save it. We need to save it as more than just a Google Drawing. Unfortunately, Google Slides will not let you load a Google Drawing in as an image. So what we're going to do is we're going to download it as a PNG image. A PNG is better than a JPEG because it has more quality when you're using it in your slideshow. So I will select that, and it downloads it right here at the bottom so that when I go back to my slideshow, I'm going to change this background now so that it's the one that I want it to be. I'm going to choose an image and upload, and I'll just drag it up into the box. And done. So now you may notice after I've put it in, it's stretched out my brain a little bit, so it doesn't look exactly like the shape of a brain. And there is a way to fix that. If you go into your Google Drawing and you go into File and Page Setup, you can see what, if you go to Custom, change it from Standard to Custom, you can see the inches that this page is set up as. So it is 10 by 7.5. Now, if I go back into my Google Slide and go the same place to Page Setup, change it from widescreen to custom, and change it to from 10 to 7.5, apply, it puts it the same size as my image. So now it looks like the right shape. So here we have the background for our drag and drop activity. Now we need to put in our labels so that the students can label our brain. To do that, we will click on the text box, drag it, and we will type in our first label, parietal lobe. Okay, may change the font how you want, make them bigger or smaller. Keep in mind that the way the students see it will be quite a bit bigger than what it is on the screen. So if it looks a little small now, it's okay. All right, and you will just keep doing that until you have all of your labels typed out. Once your labels are all in, I have mine lined up and ready to go for the students to be able to drag and drop onto the brain. I may also want to have some sort of reflective activity for them as well that you could put on here. So if I want to insert another text box, maybe I want to ask them a question about the brain, like a reflective question about the activity. Maybe we put this in as a text box so that they could put in their answer right here. So you type in your reflective question, like maybe, which part of the brain do you think is the most important? Give me a reason why. And then they could type the answer of which one they think is the most important and why. Now, one thing you can do to your activity when it's back here in the brain, depending on how you've organized it, you could always add a title to it and directions so that that goes right into your background. So I might call this brain drag and drop. And then for the directions, I'm going to center it. Okay, drag it out here so it takes up the whole space. It depends on how you organize things. Some people put the directions in Google Classroom or in Schoology. You can put the directions right on it as well. I think I'll leave it centered. So the directions are label the brain by dragging the terms to the left, on the left, to their parts in the image. Okay, I'm going to slide this over just a little bit because I know that I've got my labels over here. And then maybe I'll make more of an exciting font here. Right, so if you choose to put the directions, you can put it right into the background as well. Okay, once you have your directions and your title in, you would just download it again. Go back to your Google Slide and drag it back in. And done. So now you have your directions right up in here. So that's a way that you can put in just the image, or if you want a title and directions, you can do that as well and make it part of the background so that students can't move them around. All right, so now when you put this into Google Classroom or Schoology, you will always set it up so that the students will be able to manipulate it. So they're going to want to have their own copy of it so they can manipulate it and make it their own. There are so many possibilities with this activity. The possibilities are almost endless.